I did it again. In all my pre-recording, somehow I skipped completely over day 24 of Dear Grave Woman. So this one's coming off the dome. It's a question that I get asked a lot of times, and it's what is the saddest thing I've ever seen? So I have been around the funeral home ever since I was a little kid. My uncle was a funeral director, and I would often travel to wherever he was and spend time with him when I wasn't in school. And a part of being with him was having the opportunity to go hang out with him and work with him at the funeral home. And so when I was about 10 or 11 years old, my uncle had to bring a decedent from, I think it was Tallahassee to Savannah, Georgia. And so my mom, my sister, my grandma, my grandfather, and I met him at the cemetery while he was working with this family and burying their loved one. Their loved one happened to be a little boy who had passed away from cancer. And when I say little boy, I'm talking maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 at the most. And I remember everyone else in my family waited in the car. We were all in my grandfather's, I think, Buick, and I was so infatuated with the hearse. I knew that my uncle would let me get in the hearse. He wouldn't let me drive it, but he would let me sit in the front seat with him. And so I wanted to go stand with my uncle. And so we're at this little boy's burial. My uncle is standing in the back of the cemetery, or the back of the setup for this young man's burial, like at the back of the tent, right? Just letting the clergy and the family have their moment. I think that some family from Georgia had come to the cemetery, and so the young man's casket was open. So the last person to go up was his mother. And my uncle had me move to the side where he could still see me, and like the side near the front, but not like close to the tent. And I could see him walking the young man's mother from her chair to the casket to say goodbye to this young man, and kiss her child one more time. Like she kissed him, she hugged him. She was obviously very upset. And so I then remember seeing her with this thing in her hand. And so once I saw the thing in her hand, I then realized that she had somehow turned on a light. So, like, I was infatuated. Like, I was so curious. I started actually walking closer to the tent, which I knew I was not supposed to do, but I was so curious and I was a kid, right? And so it finally dawned on me that what she had in her hand was a flashlight. And so she put the flashlight in the casket with the light on, um, and my uncle closed the lid. And after everything was done, of course, she was upset. My uncle closed the casket. They then lowered it into the ground. People from the cemetery or the vault company came and, l- you know, covered the ground, covered the grave. And I remember riding with my uncle in the cemetery, or from the cemetery to wherever we were going to eat in the hearse. And I asked him what was in her hand. Like, why did she put that light in the casket? And he told me it was because the little boy was afraid of the dark and she didn't want him to be afraid. And even as an adult, I can feel myself like swelling up on the inside. The mother put a flashlight in the casket with her son, her child who was afraid of the dark, so that he wouldn't be afraid when he was buried. And yeah, that's probably one of the saddest things I've ever seen. So I'll see y'all tomorrow for day 25.